Welcome back to the Cleveland Baseball Talk podcast. I'm Joe Noga, joined by Paul Hoynes. Hoynesy, the All-Star game last night in Atlanta. I got to say, it started rather slow, but by the end, it was edge of your seat, and you couldn't get enough of it. The way that they finished with the home run derby to decide the winner because the game was tied, a rule that was put in place ahead of last year's All-Star game, but there was no tie in that game. They decided there's not going to be extra innings. It allowed the managers to sort of empty their tanks, empty the benches and the bullpens throughout the game and use every pitcher. It wound up really being interesting and really engaging. And I think Major League Baseball has found something here. What were your impressions in general of the All-Star game last night and the way it wound up?
Yeah, really really an interesting take on the game, Joe. I mean, is this what's going to happen now in regular season? Are they going to take away the automatic runner, in the 10th inning and then have a swing away, after every regular season game? Or is it going to be like the NHL, a shootout after every tie game? I'm not sure, but it got your attention. It was fun to watch.
I think the idea of having it for an exhibition is a great idea, but regular season, I think, still has to be decided on the field by the players. It's not a free throw shooting competition. It's not, like you said, the NHL deciding things in a shootout. Really, would you line the NFL up with, a field goal kicking contest to decide the Super Bowl? I can't imagine it. I can't ever see Major League Baseball going that way. But it makes, clearly the Major League Baseball All-Star Game is the best of the All-Star games, better than the NBA All-Star Game. The NFL doesn't even have a Pro Bowl anymore. NHL, they're not hitting each other. They're not really playing for blood. So I really think that of the All-Star games out there that are being played, Major League Baseball has it right. They do just enough sort of differentiation, experimentation sort of things with the rules, and we'll get into some of those here. But this was the most watchable, the most engaging. And having been to, the All-Star game in 2019, just the environment and the atmosphere and the way that everybody sort of treats the game, it's the best of them.
Oh, no doubt about it, Joe. And, the level of competition is high because these players are so competitive. You've got the best players in the world on both teams. And nobody, they will take a break, to celebrate a guy, a player maybe in a Hall of Famer in his last year and, give him a moment. But it's 9 innings of baseball, and you don't want to come up short amongst your peers. You want to play the best you can play, and you can see that these guys, they're serious when they're playing. It was just you get that environment, you have that buzz about a game like this. It's always fun. It's always interesting. You get to see the best pitchers in the world. You get to see a lot of them, 1 inning each. But, the result last night was really surprising because I'll be honest with you, Joe, I did not know that rule existed. I was wondering, why are these guys going through so many of their pitchers so quickly? They weren't holding anything in reserve.
Yeah, usually in the old days, the old way, there was one pitcher that was told, hey, you're going to be our guy who doesn't pitch unless we go into extras or something like that happens. And there was just enough fan service, I think, in this version of the All-Star game to make it viable and make it something, that we get excited about every year now. And it's certainly a jewel event. And in that, the Guardians' lone representative there, because Jose Ramirez, backed out of an appearance there. The lone representative was Stephen Kwan, and he conducted himself with, he was everything that we needed him to be and more in that game to represent Cleveland, to represent the American League Central, to represent the American League. Getting up there in the 9th inning, down to his last strike, battling Mets closer Edwin Diaz, and he comes away with the game-tying RBI on an infield single, and really that at bat sort of encapsulated everything that's great about Stephen Kwan and makes him an all-star. Just your thoughts on that showdown and that moment where Stephen Kwan came through for the American League.
Just a great moment, really a good at bat by Kwan, the kind of at bat we've seen throughout the first half. 7, 8, 9 pitches. He kept fouling balls off and finally put one in play, a little chopper down the third baseline. Suarez was playing way back the third baseman, and got the tying run home. He beats it out. I haven't seen him run that fast for a while. He was hauling it down to first base. Then he steals second base and gives him a chance to win it. It doesn't happen, but he goes into extra innings. But just a great performance and a great all-star appearance by Quan. One he'll remember for sure.
Yeah, and he kind of had to wait a little extra there. Brett, I keep calling him Brett Boone. It's Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone didn't put him in defensively until the sixth inning. He wanted to give Riley Green, the starter in left field, an extra at bat. Green had struck out the first two times he was up. I think he popped out to center his third time up. So Quan really didn't get into the game until late. I really didn't have a chance to impact things, in those middle innings where sometimes the subs come in and they make a big difference there. He did have one catch in the outfield on a nice, running play towards the line. But other than that, he really didn't have a lot of impact in the game. His first at bat was a ground out with runners in scoring position that ended an inning, I believe in the seventh. And then, he did make it up when the American League Central sort of asserted itself there in the ninth inning, down by two. Byron Buxton and Bobby Witt Jr. back-to-back doubles. So the Twins and the Royals represented, and then the Guardian comes in and cleans up and drives in the game-tying run after what was an outstanding play down the first baseline by Matt Olson on a hard smash by Jazz Chisholm Jr. I thought that was one of the plays of the game, and Olson was going to maybe put himself in position to be an MVP with that game-saving sort of stop, but that only served to move Witt over to third base and make it easier for him to score on Quan's infield single. So yeah, I think Quan did a really nice job, showed all of the things in his toolbox, all of the skills in his skill set to sort of make it known why he's not just an all-star once, he's an all-star twice. He's going to be in the conversation, I think, for a while there in the outfield in the American League. So great to see the American League Central perform at a high level after their starter in the American League, Tarek Skubal, sort of stumbled early, giving up 2 runs in the first.
Yeah, Skubal against Paul Skeens. Great pitching matchup, an all-star type pitching matchup. Skubal gives up the 2-run double to Marte in the first inning and really kind of set the tone, the early tone for that game as the National League piled on and built a 6-0 lead.
Yeah, it made it sort of that pitching matchup. While it's what you want to see, you want to see Tarek Skubal, you want to see Paul Skeens, but it goes back to Pedro Martinez in '99 striking out the first 6-8 batters he faced. It was it made it sort of a snoozer early when the NL builds this lead and you're thinking they're going to cruise and all that. Then Brent Rooker comes up in the fourth inning, the sixth inning, and hits a 3-run home run, and you show signs of life. The American League puts that rally together, and it becomes more interesting to watch late, and that's what you want. You want butts in the seats, on the edge of the seats at the end of the game, watching the final outs there. But what you think of Jacob Mizrachi, the Brewers pitcher? Very hyped. He's only made 5 starts in the National League for the Brewers, and he comes over, is a first-time All-Star. Maybe some people thought he didn't pitch enough innings or have enough appearances to warrant that, but heck, Paul Skeens started last year, and he had only had a few starts under his belt before that. Mizrachi, kind of an exciting character to watch.
Yeah, 102 miles an hour, on the radar gun. He looks about 15 years old, Joe, doesn't he? I mean, he's tall and skinny. His arms are like pipe cleaners. It's just this tall, skinny guy that generates a lot of velo. And I kind of like the move. Major League Baseball, like you said, last year with Skeens, they promote their younger players. They try to get them in the public eye. There's no better place in the All-Star game to do that. And this guy, obviously one of the rising up and coming young players, get him in the big stage, get him under the lights and see how he does.
It was sort of like when Anthony Gose, first came out, and everybody heard, this guy's pumping gas, so they got to see him. All the players were at the top step of the railing, looking and watching Mizrachi's pitches, just to see that velo and that energy. So a lot of fun with that, and I think you're right. Major League Baseball has been making a concerted effort to sort of get their younger players to events like this and showcase them. And, that goes back to the spring breakout games that they do during spring training to try and promote the younger players and get get their faces on the screens and have more young players sort of more young fans sort of connect with them. It's something that's paying off.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They are trying to get a younger, demographic to watch baseball games. It's a good move, Joe. I mean, and with a guy like that, I mean, you're gonna if you're a baseball fan, it doesn't matter what age you are, you're gonna watch this guy because he can bring it. I mean, that is, he kind of had that deer in the headlights look, like he said, "What am I doing here?" Like he just dropped in, but he was throwing gas, man.
Yeah. So from the sort of the other way that the Major League Baseball can go with an event like this is sort of like you mentioned, to honor a longtime All-Star, a longtime legend. They did it with Miguel Cabrera. They, putting him on the roster, having him, play some sort of role in the game, and then, giving him a moment to come off the field. They did that with Clayton Kershaw in this game. Clayton Kershaw walks off that mound. He's walking right to Cooperstown as soon as he is eligible to do so. Have him in that game last night and to have him get taken out and to the applause and all that. Definitely a special moment for Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, that was a nice moment. Kershaw keeps coming back, man. I don't know when this guy's going to retire. Like every year he pitches a half a year. You think he's going to retire, then he comes back for a half year. So who knows? This guy could still be pitching 5 years from now. But certainly a nice moment. It kind of reminded me of the moment they did with Cal Ripken I think it was in Seattle when he was. I think he was elected to third base
Right.
as a
And
starting third
A-Rod moved him
baseman.
over.
When he came out, A-Rod moved over to to third, so Cal could was introduced at shortstop. It was cool moment like that. And baseball can
Yeah,
do that.
and that's one of the things that baseball can afford to do, as opposed to like football. You can't bring a 45-year-old guy out onto a football field and sort of on. He's gonna get murdered. I mean, that's just the way it is. But uh, in baseball, you can kind of have Clayton Kershaw throw a couple of pitches and then walk off to some applause and tip his cap. Kind of an awesome moment there. We've got to talk about the way that the game ended, basically, because of Stephen Kwan's heroics in the ninth. It activated the first swing off, the first home run derby to decide an all-star game. And this is something that worked, man. I think after the success of the home run derby in its traditional sense on Monday night and all the eyeballs that get on that, bring an element of that. This was something that, Justin Turner suggested this a long time ago. And instead of using the ghost runner to decide games in extra innings, he said, hey, why not do a mini home run derby? And this one sort of caught on. The rosters for the swing off were sort of decided ahead of time. We found that out, that they had to pick their guys beforehand, and guys like Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge weren't on that list because Aaron Boone knew, Raleigh was going to be out of the game by then. And Judge, once you've been to 8 All-Star games, by the 8th one, you're generally bouncing out of there as soon as you're out of the game.
Yeah, so the rosters were a little surprising, Joe. The National League, Kyle
Mm-hmm.
Stowers
Stowers.
led off. Kyle Schwarber, of course, then the polar bear, Pete Alonso. That had some star power. They went, and in the American League went with Brent Rooker, Randy Arozarena, and Aranda from Tampa Bay. So interesting choice of the three guys, but there was drama, from start to finish with it.
Yeah, and Rooker hits 2 at the start, and you're thinking he's put the American League way ahead in that situation, because it's not like the timed event on Monday where you can get off as many swings in a minute or whatever. It's just you get 3 swings. If you pop one out, if you miss the barrel, you're not hitting a home run. And we saw that for a couple of these guys. That makes what Kyle Schwarber did in the second round sort of amazing, is that every ball that he swung at, he barreled and launched, and these were no doubt home runs.
Yeah, that first one, Joe, you forget how talented these guys are and how quick they are. That first home run that Schwarber hit. Now the guy's throwing a BP fastball, obviously, but his hands were so quick. Hit it to dead central, like 428 feet. That you're generating that all of that. That's pure power. And he was locked in after that, I thought.
Was Kyle Schwarber the perfect hitter to have in that situation, in terms of just what he can do, what his skill set is to get them 3 home runs on 3 swings?
Yeah, I think so. We saw him last year when he was batting leadoff for the Phillies. I mean, that's what he was up there to do. He's up there to hit home runs. And, obviously last night that was his same role. And man, that was the last one. He goes down on a knee, and that turned out to be the game winner. Alonso doesn't even have to bat.
Yeah, that was the only negative, the only drawback. I sort of looked around the room and I said, this is going to end on a Pete Alonso walk-off. And it really didn't because, like you said, Jonathan Aranda, there's so much pressure on him to hit at least one of those home runs, and he wasn't able to. And you can't blame him for that. I mean, what Schwarber did was Herculean. So really, that it turned out to be exciting, even though we didn't get the drama of sort of that walk-off moment. But still, I think Major League Baseball has found something. I don't think this is something they want to maybe extend to regular season or playoff games. I just can't see real games that matter being decided this way.
Yeah, Aranda almost tied it up too, Joe, with that line drive off the brick, the top of the brick, top of the right field fence there, the right field wall. It was just missed by a foot or two. But yeah, I think this is perfect for the All-Star game, an exhibition. But you don't want to do this in the regular season. Joe, what did you think about the automatic balls and strikes used throughout the game?
Well, yeah, that was going to be that was going to be one of my my sort of wrap ups here. The piece de resistance for the night was watching hitters and catchers and even pitchers challenging balls in the strike zone. And we saw this in spring training, and it worked. And Hoynes, personally, I think it can't get to the big leagues. It's a regular season and playoff games. I think it can't get here fast enough. I think they need it. It's going to help, and fans are going to be a lot more engaged with it as well. The technology is there. It's accurate. It works. And now the young players who have been using it in the minors are starting to come up to the majors, so they're going to be used to it. They're going to, it's going to be seamless and smooth. I don't think it's going to delay games very much. We saw it in action last night, and I think we need to see more of it.
Yeah, Joe, and you're an advocate of officials. So what do you think this does to an umpire?
I mean, you've still got the umpire acting in his role and doing the things that he needs to do. It doesn't take the human element away. It actually enhances the human element because it gets it right. So, yeah, I think the umpires are going to adjust to it. I think it's going to weed out some of the umpires who have real difficulty with calling balls and strikes. And the guys who are good, it's going to, they're not going to get challenged as much. But if you've got a guy behind the plate who struggles with the zone, I think that's, it's almost like some umpires should come with extra challenges in a game. If you've got an Angel Hernandez game, no one's ever going to have an Angel Hernandez game again. Thank goodness. But if you have an Angel Hernandez game behind the plate, you should get 3 extra challenges in that game because he's going to miss that many more calls. I personally think 2 challenges per game, like they were doing in spring training, is not going to be enough during the regular season. I think we should see that expanded or see additional challenges given later in games from when the most important calls are taking place.
Yeah, and then more strategy becomes involved in when you use those challenges. What part of the game do you use them? At what critical moment do you use them? So it brings a whole nother kind of layer of intrigue to a game that, is really built on intrigue.
Or even who's allowed to use them. I mean, your manager has to be able to say, Stephen Kwan, you've got the best eye at the plate in the league. If you say it's a ball, then it's a ball. I'm going to trust that you can challenge anytime you want to at any point. Gabriel Arias, I might say, hey, Gabriel Arias, you can't challenge in the first 6 innings of a game. But if it's a critical at bat with runners on base and we need to score late in the game, then I might send him to the plate saying, okay, if it's close and we've got a challenge, go ahead and use one.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be, and I would think, Joe, for sure this is coming in 2026. I would be surprised if it wasn't.
Yeah, it would be shocking to me if it's not a part of the game in 2026. It's already in the minors and it's already being used. The ABS challenge system, definitely another reason why we tuned into the game last night and everybody was watching. One final thought, I was blown away by the Hank Aaron tribute that they did in Atlanta with the use of the projection on the screen on the field with the holograms and everything, and the the pyrotechnics and the laser show. That was as impressive a mid-game break for to honor somebody who absolutely everybody is in awe of or was in awe of in Hank Aaron. I think that moment was a resounding success for Major League Baseball.
I felt I was right there, Joe. I mean, when he hit 715, I mean, that was cool. That was, I don't know how they did it, but you felt like you were at the game. You know, you felt like
Yeah.
you were sitting there in the stands, and just a really cool moment, great idea. I hope Hammer and Hank somewhere was smiling when after that.
And I would not be opposed to seeing more tributes. Like baseball has so many, moments like that live on, and we've seen those videos and we've seen the images, played over and over again to recreate things. The only one I don't want to see is Willie Mays' catch in the 1954 World Series recreated. Please don't put that on a projector, on the field during an All-Star game. That just re-traumatizes an entire generation of Indians and Guardians fans alike. So let's not do that one, but find another sort of tradition like. And you know what? The other thing that Major League Baseball is good at doing is promoting. I saw enough commercials for the Bristol Showdown game coming up at the racetrack that they're playing that game. I believe it's Atlanta and who else? I was the Angel. Whoever it was. It. I saw enough commercials for that to make me want to tune into that game. So great job by baseball all around. One more piece of news I want to get to before we get out of here. Shane Bieber back on the mound, pitching in a game situation for the first time since May 3rd. The little setback with his elbow seems to be doing just fine. Bieber goes 2 innings, strikes out 5, allows a hit and a walk as the Arizona Complex League Guardians defeat the Dodgers in Goodyear Park 12-0. So Bieber looks like he's back on course and could be coming this way, pitching a game in Ohio at some point, maybe next week.
Yeah, I would think so, Joe. I mean, what? He pitches Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday or Monday. He's doing another game. I would think if he comes through this one all right. So he's hopefully on his way and he stays on course this time, Joe. Doesn't have any setbacks and is ready to rejoin the big league rotation sometime in late August, perhaps.
Yeah, you've got to figure at least 3 or 4 more starts to get that pitch count built up to the point where they're comfortable using him in a big league game. But all good signs, and hopefully he reports nothing out of the ordinary, and his recovery on the following day as he continues to progress there. I think Travis Bazzana and George Valera both hit doubles in that game. Valera hitting an RBI double off of Blake Snell, who was rehabbing for the Dodgers as well. So a lot of good stuff happening out of the Arizona Complex League right now. Good to hear Travis Bazzana's back in game action.
Yeah, Bazzana, of course, has been sidelined with the oblique injury. Geez, Joe, what, 6 to 8 weeks? So he's just coming back now. Valera hopefully can stay healthy, Joe. This is a guy that can hit, but has just had terrible luck, with injuries over the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that's certainly the case. We'd love to see Valera as an option at some point. All right, Hoynes, that's going to wrap up today's edition of the Cleveland Baseball Talk podcast. We'll be back to talk to you again another time.
Good deal.